Jonathan Turley is a Fox News contributor and a George Washington University law professor, and he joins us now. Jonathan, it's great to see you this evening.
Thank you, Will.
Heard in that clip Harvard say, "We will be looking for new ways to pursue the ill-defined goal of diversity." What do you think will be the response of not just Harvard and not just North Carolina, but universities at large in response to the Supreme Court's ruling?
Well, I think they are going to attempt to use race in a different way. After the Bakke decision in '77, the Supreme Court said that it was getting rid of affirmative action admissions, but would allow an exception for the use of race as just one factor. What the universities did is that they achieved essentially the same result using that diversity rationale. That's why the court continually pushed back. What's actually sort of fascinating, Will, is that after this decision came down, there was a hue and cry from universities saying that their admission of minority students would plummet. And that was interesting because during the oral argument, and for the last 50 years, universities have told the Supreme Court that it's not putting a huge amount of weight on race, that it's one of many factors, that it's not a Bakke situation. And yet, once the court got rid of race, you had all these commentators and all these colleges saying this is going to just have our numbers plummet. And so obviously race was a far more significant factor. But I think that Chief Justice Roberts basically laid out how they're going to do this. That is, he did say that, and I think correctly so, that a student can discuss how he or she overcame discrimination in their lives as part of their essays. Yeah. That will identify those applicants.
But he did warn universities as well. He warned universities, don't follow the advice of Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson and the dissent in this case. He warned them not to use applications as a backdoor to once again consider race. And I think it's interesting that you have laid out their admission about how much they were using race by saying our numbers will plummet. I'm also taken aback, Jonathan, by how many people have said, in a condescending fashion, as George W. Bush once said, the low standard, the racism of low expectations, how there's this sense that in a meritocratic system, that minorities outside of Asians will not be able to keep up with our admission standards.
I think that that's part of the whole purpose of this direction of the conversation, is to avoid what we really need to be talking about, which is the complete collapse of the public education system, particularly in urban centers. You have billions and billions of dollars given for public education, which I'm a fervent believer in. I send all of my kids to public schools because I believe in public schools as part of our democracy. But that system is collapsing for minority families. I mean, they are graduating kids that can't even reach basic levels of proficiency in English.
Right.
And instead of focusing on that and allowing all boats to float to try to raise the educational quality, there's still this effort to check the box.
Yeah, and I have firsthand experience with that as well, Jonathan, having sent my kids to a charter school in New York City to see the alternatives for achievement for children who are either in low socioeconomic situations or of racial minorities, that what can be accomplished through essentially a really good public education is a stark difference in what kids can accomplish. One last question for you, Jonathan. You hear AOC, you hear Bowman, you hear these others talking about packing the court and term limiting the court and impeaching the court. Do you think there's any real threat to the future of the Supreme Court?
I think there is a threat. Fortunately, the American people have always been against court packing. That is in our DNA. They're also supportive of this decision, as you noted.
Yeah.
So there's not the support in the country for this. But what we're seeing is a crisis of faith. You have members of Congress who have lost their faith in this system. The public has not. And I think that you'll see in the years to come, they will be highly protective over this institution.
Let's hope so. It's one of the few remaining institutions that seems to have some sense of its purpose and harkens back to understanding the founding principles of the United States of America. Professor Turley, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.